Welcome to the NBA Carousel, brought to you by Sideline Sports in conjunction with Fantasy and Flavors. I'm Megan Price, your host and Spurs representative. The play-in tournament has come and gone, leaving the Lakers in the 7th seed and the Grizzlies in the 8th seed for the West. In the East, we have Boston at number 7 and the Wizards at number 8. At the beginning of the season, many called the Lakers to repeat with how dominant they were, but the injury bug fell upon LA, causing them to fall to the play-in tournament, ultimately taking the 7th seed. If the Lakers end up repeating and gaining another championship, they will break the record for lowest seed to win a championship held by the Rockets, who had the 6th seed in 1995. The first games have been played in round 1, so let's check in with the Utah Jazz rep, Will Vogel. Hi, Will. How are you?
Good. How are you, Megan?
I'm doing really well. All right, so we got the awards show today. We're going to talk about our picks for the regular season awards, and then we're also going to talk about your team that's in the playoffs.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's start with your regular season awards then.
Sounds good.
Okay, who do you got for MVP?
Whew. So, at the first half of the year, it was a tight race between Jokic and Embiid, and then Stephen Curry came in the last few weeks and just tore it up. But I got Nikola Jokic. Guy's been on a tear. Triple-double machine as a big man, which is crazy insane because normally guards go for those like Russell Westbrook. But I got Jokic edging out Embiid, and also he didn't have Jamal Murray for some games, and he had Michael Porter, but still averaging a triple-double as a big man.
Right, absolutely.
What? A long time ago at the Kareem days or the Will Chamberlain days, they'd be like, what are you doing? What?
Right. So defensive player of the year.
That one is going to Rudy Gobert.
Okay.
He's been awesome defensively with his blocks and his rebounds. He's been so good. And he's won it in the past, and it proves no difference. He's just been really, really good defensively.
Okay. And your sixth man?
Same team, Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson used to just be a role player on the Lakers and the Cavs. And then we saw him pick up a little traction when he was on the Cavs, but the Lakers, he didn't really have a big role. And when he went to Utah, then he started to pick up. Shoot, he's had 30-point games, 20-point games, 14 double-digit games. He's been playing like a real good six-man, and he's just taking advantage of that opportunity.
Okay, and your rookie of the year?
My rookie of the year is actually my favorite team, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball has been killed it as a rookie. Sure, he had a setback with that wrist injury, but he balled out. And I know Anthony Edwards played really well, and Tyrese Halliburton did too, but I give the edge to LaMelo Ball because he almost put up triple-doubles while Anthony Edwards only put up really, really good points.
Okay.
So LaMelo did everything.
I agree. And your most improved player?
Julius Randle. He had led the Knicks to the playoffs, which they haven't been in the playoffs in many, many years. And he's helped R.J. Barrett grow as a player, and he's grown as a player himself on his own. Ever since he played for New Orleans after he left L.A., he just took that massive step forward.
And your coach of the year?
Is same team, Tom Thibodeau. It's close. Right. It was between Tom Thibodeau and Monty Williams. Monty Williams, sure, he led Phoenix to a great seed, but I know it's a toss-up. It could be either one of those guys. Both those guys haven't been to the playoffs in ages, both those teams, but seeing the Knicks in the playoffs, that's got to make Knicks fans happy, even though they lost yesterday. They've got to be really happy that their team fought for a playoff spot. I didn't think, personally, who would have had the Knicks in the playoffs? I wouldn't have.
I did.
Maybe as a low seed, yes.
I did not.
But
I didn't have them this high. I had them at
I
like
didn't
7 or
either.
8. I definitely
Oh,
didn't.
I had them 7 or 8, but I didn't have them this high.
Right. Okay, so my list is very similar with yours. There is a difference with Defensive Player of the Year. I went ahead and took Simmons. I just a
He's
preference.
really good with steals. I agree.
Right.
He's
It's just
so good defensively.
for me, it's just a preference. I like how aggressive he is, whereas Gobert is more, just a rim protector. And I just feel like Ben Simmons is more aggressive defensively than
I
Gobert.
agree.
Not that
I think
not that they're not
Simmons.
both great, but I just personally, style wise, I prefer Simmons.
I agree. I had them neck and neck because I think Simmons is great defensively too. Like I told someone this: if he can develop a good jump shot,
Mhm.
that guy's gonna be deadly. Look out.
Absolutely.
He just needs to develop a good jump shot, keep scoring, and be this good defensively, and he'll be a superstar. Not saying he's not a superstar already, just like he needs to take that leap forward and get a jump shot.
Absolutely. And most improved, I actually went with MPJ because Julius Randle has put up good numbers last season, and he's had good numbers before. Where I saw the most jump in improvement for me was MPJ, and that
I
was
Go
more
ahead.
in the last part of the season because MPJ had more playing minutes once Jamal Murray was injured, and that's when we saw that massive improvement. And so for me, I thought MPJ kind of took over the race.
I
Um,
agree 100%. And PJ came. He was projected to be the number one pick in his draft until he got hurt in college at Missouri. And then
right,
everyone's like, oh, we're going to pass on this dude. We're going to pass on this dude. We're
right.
not going to draft him. And he falls all the way to like 15. I don't know, some double digit teen seed. And he's been playing great for the Nuggets. Like, he is a great
Absolutely.
young piece that if you put with Murray, Jokic, him, those guys are good together. And I love MPJ. He's a great player. So that was also really neck and neck for me,
Okay.
too.
And I went the same way as you did on MVP and Coach of the Year. The reason on Coach of the Year that I went to Coach Thibodeau was because I felt like he did more with less than what Monty Williams has. Even though I agree, like it's really close.
Monty
There's more
has
pieces,
Aiden and Booker, and he
mhm,
has Chris Paul. He has more all stars.
right? And so I felt like Coach Tibb got there with less pieces, and any team that CP3 plays on is going to be a really well run team because CP3 is that good of a floor general. So I don't think that always the great coaching or the great flow on the floor is always because of the coach. Sometimes it's because of how good of a guard Chris Paul is.
And I agree. And it's funny because in my top 5, I didn't make a list, but I would have had the Charlotte Hornets coach up there too, James Borrego. And it's funny because some Charlotte fans are like, fire him, fire him, fire him. Guy actually has a lot to work. He has some superstars, and it's a lot of pressure being under
Right,
MJ is his boss. But
right.
still, he's probably was top 5 for Coach of the Year, and he was in the
Absolutely.
same boat probably as Thibodeau. Not gonna win Coach of the Year, but up for it for sure. James Borrego.
Okay, well let's talk about y'all's game yesterday. Now, y'all actually fell to the Grizzlies 112 to 109, so an incredibly close game. And Donovan Mitchell did not play, even though we heard reports that he was ready to go. For some reason, he didn't play. And now there's been a couple of stories out that Mitchell is not happy with that decision of them not to play him. One, I feel like we're going to see Mitchell next game, most definitely. And two, I wonder how disgruntled he really is.
Oh, I think I would be too personally. I know you don't want to rush ankle injuries because you could re-injure it, but I think he's definitely going to play game 2 and he's going to play angry. He's going to go all out and said, "Hey, I didn't play game 1. I'm
Right.
going to go off in game 2, drop a bunch of points." But yeah, it hurt. But other guys stepped up too. Sure, losing to an 8th seed like Memphis is hurtful, but no offense, Megan, to your Spurs, but they've beaten better teams before, and they're not really an 8th seed in my eyes. They're like a 6 or 7 seed. They are
Right.
not to be slept on. Do
Right.
I think Utah's going to ultimately win the series? Yes, because I think the youth's eventually going to catch up with the Grizzlies. But the Grizzlies are going to get better and better each year because they have Jaren Jackson, they have Dylan Brooks, they have John Morant,
Right.
Brandon Clark, Jonas Valanciunas. But other guys stepped up for the Jazz too. Like Gobert and Conley had double-doubles. Ingles had 11 points. Bogdanovich had 20-something. Clarkson had 14 points. Favors had a double-double off the bench. So, yes, they missed Mitchell, but at least you didn't get blown out. And
Right.
I can see where Donovan's coming from, but also if you're Utah, you kind of should have rested him. I agree, even though I would have loved to see him play, because you don't want him to re-injure it and be out for even longer.
Right. Agreed.
So Memphis is not a bad team. I think Memphis is a very underrated team. I enjoy watching Memphis play basketball. And I watched that whole game.
Same. It was a really interesting game. And like you said, it wasn't a blowout. So what we can look forward to this week, we have game 2 on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Then we have game 3 on Saturday at 8:30. And we have game 4 on Monday at 8:30. And that's all we know so far.
I think the series is going to 6.
I think it's going to 6. Interesting.
I got Utah in 6.
Okay. So you got Memphis getting at least one more win.
I do. I think they'll get one on. I think they'll get one on their home court for sure.
Okay.
Because Utah at home, I know they lost yesterday, but you don't want to wake an angry bear or whatever the saying goes. Like,
right.
They're going to be motivated. They're going to be motivated in practice. Be like, work on this. Shut down John Morant. Like, I think Mitchell or Clarkson will keep Ja out of the game sometimes, but it's going to be great matchups. You got Ja against Conley, against a young guy. You have Brooks against Mitchell. You have Valanciunas against Gobert. You got Ingles and Bogdanovich against Kyle Anderson. It's great matchups. I think this is. I know there's a lot of other great series out there. This is one of my favorite series out there. When I saw this, I said, this is going to be so much fun to watch.
Well, thank you so much, Will, for your takes on your team and your regular season picks. Will you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, Megan. You guys can find me here on the NBA Carousel on Monday nights. I'll be covering the Jazz in the playoffs. I'm normally covering the Jazz or the Hornets. The Hornets are not in the playoffs, so I'll be covering the Jazz. Thursday or Saturday, I'll be on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price, where we talk about different takes. And then Friday, I will be on the Gauntlet, hosted by James Tatum, which will be talking about football and the player of the week and other sports. So you guys can find me there. And like I said, you can find me here as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and shoot over to another very high-seeded team. We have Jordan Long covering the Phoenix Suns. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Megan.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome. So do you want to start with game 1 or do you want to start with your regular season awards?
Either way, I mean, I'm ready for whichever.
Okay, well, let's start with your regular season awards.
It sounds good to me.
Okay, shoot through them for me.
So my MVP, of course, we touched on it last week, is Nikola Jokic. I mean, averaging 26.4 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 8.3 assists. You guys touched on it with Will that he took over when Murray was out. For my defensive player of the year, I agreed with Will. It's Rudy Gobert. Okay. For my sixth man of the year, it was a toss-up between Clarkson and Joel Ingles, but I'm going with Ingles. you could easily say they could share it, but I think Ingles edges it out. Rookie of the year, LaMelo Ball. For most improved, I really had a tough choice between Jeremy Grant and MPJ. The only reason why Michael Porter Jr. takes it for me is because of the fact that the Nuggets are in the playoffs and they are not. The Pistons aren't. And for my coach of the year, I'm going Monte Williams. I know they were so close to making the playoffs last year, but the fact of the matter is they're 51-21 this year, and they're the second seed. They should have been the number one seed if they could have won one more game. But they did have CP3, but I'm still going with Monte Williams.
Awesome. I like your list. Okay, well, let's jump over to the big game yesterday. You guys beat the Lakers 99-90 and really had the Lakers out there looking exhausted, tired, overworked. So run down the game for me.
Well, we did end up outscoring them in every quarter but the fourth. Of course, the fourth quarters, where Anthony Davis and LeBron James normally go off, that didn't happen. The closest they got it was 90-83 with 6:41 left, but that was it. And Booker in his first playoff game didn't look like it was his first playoff game. He looked like a veteran out there with 34 points. Ayton helped out with 14 points. Paul, we know, got hurt, came back in, but still did his thing with 7 points and 8 assists. The bench came up with 19 points. But what I was really surprised was the defense of the Phoenix Suns. They only gave up 18 points for LeBron James and 13 for Anthony Davis. The question I have for both of them is, how healthy are they? They didn't look healthy yesterday afternoon. They were missing shots, and I can tell you right now, that is not going to continue. We know that the Lakers will be ready for game 2.
Right. I agree. I think this was, a reality check for them that they still have to come into this series and they're going to have to fight for it. You did fall to the 7th seed. You are battling injuries and you're going against a team that's pretty much at 100% health.
Exactly. And I mean, the only question is, how healthy is Chris Paul after he had his shoulder contusion? But for what I know right now, he's saying he's healthy, but we'll see really the effects in game 2.
Absolutely. And there was 2 injuries, Chris Paul's injury and then LeBron's injury. I do feel like LeBron overstated his injury, but Chris has looked pretty serious to me. And I didn't know, I didn't think maybe a dislocation, but maybe a tear. It did look pretty serious to me there, but he did come back. He wasn't quite where we probably wanted to see him points wise. I was really impressed with Booker's performance. Like you said, he did not look like it was his first playoff game. And DeAndre Ayton played really, really well. He had 16 rebounds, 21 points. I wish he would dunk a little bit more, but that was a great performance.
As long as he's making the points and getting the rebounds, I could care less about dunking. Yeah, dunking's nice, but we've seen even Ayton go for a dunk and miss it. So honestly, the little layups are just as good to me.
So what we have to look forward this week, we have game 2 Tuesday at 9:00. We have game 3 Thursday at 9, and then game 4 Sunday at 2:30. Super excited about this series. And I do agree, yesterday was not necessarily a fluke, but we're not going to see the Lakers play that bad the entire series.
No, and what I know from LeBron James and Anthony Davis, after a bad game, they usually play better in the next game. So that's something we have to, key on. We have to keep, defending LeBron James and Anthony Davis, for someone else to hit those shots, which is what we did yesterday. But, they're going to be ready for game 2. This is a championship team. They won it last year. And especially if they go down 0-2, going back to LA, you're going to get your best, especially at home. But I still think the Suns win this series in 6 or 7 games. I don't see it being 4 or 5.
Right. No, I don't either. It just kind of depends on how game 2 goes for me to make my decision on who wins the series. Now, before the series started, I kind of figured Lakers, but that it would go at least 6 or 7 games as well. But yesterday was kind of nerve-wracking. We don't know if they're healthy. They kind of put the question back up in the air. So I think Phoenix has a chance, and you guys looked awesome yesterday.
We really did. I mean, we beat them on the boards. We shot better than them, and we have to keep doing that. I think the turnovers were about even, so that wasn't a big deal. But if we continue to box out and get those second chance points, that will really frustrate the Lakers. And again, I don't see this being a 4 or 5 game series. I still think it's going to be 6.
Okay. Well, all right, Jordan, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
Okay, thank you, Megan. You can find me at Sports Scoop 1 on Twitter, and I have my own blog that I write Mondays through Fridays about a lot of different types of sports. So check that out at sports-scoop.com.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and keep it in the West and in the top seeds. We have Chris covering the Clippers.
Afternoon.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, Megan. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys are coming off a loss in game 1. It seems like kind of a trend over in the West. It seemed like the teams that you thought were going to come in and take game 1, it didn't happen. So it wasn't just you guys.
Yeah.
It was not just you guys. Luka just had an astronomical game.
Yeah, he went off 31. And the funny thing about it was he put up 30 within not even in the clutch time where, so that was just, like you said, that's another amazing performance by him, especially with his youth at 21 years old and just letting people know, putting teams on notice. And once again, the Clippers' biggest issue is not being able to finish in the clutch.
Right.
I was proud of them kind of coming back because pretty much Dallas was in control of this game for the majority of this game. I mean, at this point, they had the Clippers had a 3-point lead with 5 minutes to go, and even with 2 minutes to go, it was tied at 100. And then Dallas went on a 13-3 run, and that's all you wrote for that. So
right, and in that last stretch that you're talking about, you guys missed 6 free throws. 6.
Yes, 6, and that's the difference. That's if you convert on that, that's a 4-point game there, and it's those are the small little intricate details that have to be sewn up. And
I think that also, even though Kawhi, he had 26 points, 5 assists, and 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
I think, just being a Spurs fan and as many games of Kawhi's as I've watched him play over the years, I think he was capable of at least 5 more points. Honestly, you're the number 1 star. You and PG are the number 1, number 2 stars. One of y'all has to have a 30-point game to beat the Mavericks. I mean, they're just a high-scoring team. So you guys, one of y'all is going to have that breakout game like that. Not that 23 points for PG. Not that that's a bad performance, because it's not. And he's done great all season. And Kawhi, 26 and then 10 boards, not a bad performance whatsoever. But when you're playing a team like Dallas, one of y'all got to take the reins and have a breakout game.
And I think that's been their biggest issue from the jump, where who is going to take that lead. And with Kawhi being such a quiet leader, that's why you're hoping Rondo helps as far as letting them get in their face and letting them know, look, somebody takes over. Right. And even with that duo with 49 points, generally, like you said, 9 times out of 10, that doesn't really get it done, especially in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It might work in an occasional, regular season game, but I mean, you got to come up with more than probably about 50 or 60 points combined, and especially in these games, especially going forward, because this doesn't look good.
I think with this series and the Knicks and the Hawks series, I think the main thing is not containing Luka or Trey, because it's not going to happen.
Yep.
They're going to have 30-point games pretty much no matter how much you guard them. I think the main thing that you guys need to focus on is shutting down the pieces around Luka, because Luka can have a 60-point game, and that's not going to win an NBA game if nobody else is scoring points.
Exactly.
So if you shut down everybody else, then, because you had Porzingis, who had 14, Finney-Smith had 18, and Hardaway Jr. had 21, and Brunson had 15 out of nowhere. So you got to shut down those other pieces. You're not going to contain Luka, so don't even worry about it. He's going to drop him on you, period.
Exactly, and you'll take that. But you just look at that supporting cast compared to us, where you look at, we got 11 from Batum and then 11 from Rondo off the bench.
Right.
So that's another thing too, where you look at where also the bench need to step up as well, and there's other people that need to step up as well. And like you said, yeah, you can live with the fact that say, hey, Luka put 50 on us, but like you said, you getting Jalen Brunson coming off the bench doing this thing, Finney Smith, he's doing this thing, and and Porzingis is another one who put pretty much destroyed us in that fourth quarter with that pretty much with the with the game in the balance. He went off in a couple scoring runs there, but deja vu.
No, I got y'all winning the series. Y'all got too many pieces to not beat Dallas, but I think you can't focus on Luka. You got to focus on everybody around him. So what we have to look forward to this week, we have Game 2 Tuesday at 9:30. We have Game 3 Friday at 8:30, and Game 4 Sunday at 8:30. So that's exciting. It's going to be a great series for you guys. You want to talk about your regular season awards real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. My MVP is going to be Jokic. He's doing his thing. I want to do it be if he wouldn't have missed 19 games, he would have been the MVP for certain. Rookie of the Year, Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
Yes, what he's doing, and now you realize that they might have their biggest building piece might be Anthony Edwards. He might be the leader of this team going forward. Sixth man, Jordan Clarkson, obviously 18.5. He's putting up Lou Will type of numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
Defensive player of the year, Ben Simmons.
Same. Yeah, same.
Perimeter defender. You look at even like what he did last against the Wizards in that clutch time, guarding Bradley Beal. He did his thing with that. Most improved, Julius Randle. He went from a 19 point per game score, average at best at the most part, to now he might be an all NBA second team potentially. True. And the Knicks are playing meaningful basketball.
Right. I agree.
Coach of the year, Tibbs.
Same.
I didn't think he was going to win with this team at all. I thought this was going to be a rebuilding year for them, and I thought it was going to kind of tear it down. And no, he proved me wrong.
I thought they were going to make the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to be this highly seeded. And I mean, they look awesome. Now they're just going to have to figure out the same advice that I give you guys, the Clippers. I would say to the Knicks, like, you're not going to contain Trey. They're very similar point guards. Like, they're going to hang them on you all game long. You might as well focus on everybody around them.
Absolutely. Yep. And if you like what happened with them, it's okay to let Trey beat you. It's
right.
Everybody else that's we need to worry about. You can live with that. Yeah.
Very much so. All right, Chris. Well, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
Yes. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, On the Couch Coach Live. Check out the podcast every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check out the audio version on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you next week.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and shoot over to the East. We have Cool McCain covering the Milwaukee Bucks. Hi, Cool.
What's good, Megan?
How you doing?
Sitting here enjoying this beatdown.
What's the score?
I was just 50-30 a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Exciting. Well, so Milwaukee came out victorious Saturday against Miami, but it was a very close game, and it was an overtime game, and it reeked of last year in the bubble.
Yeah, it did. But you have to look at it and think to yourself, you're not going to win every game against a team that's as solid as Miami by blowing them out. You're going to have those games where you're going to have to grind it out and figure out a way to win. And we were able to do it in a game that really should have lost. So kind of count that in the plus column of saying to yourself, you can get all the lessons from losing the game, all the things you should have done better, all the things that you did wrong, but you still have a win. So that's about the only way, honestly, if you're Milwaukee, that you should be looking at that.
You had Chris Middleton, who was the top scorer of the night. He had 27 points. Giannis had 26, and then Drew had 20, and Brook Lopez had 18. So a very solid starting core right there. Doesn't seem like you had a whole lot of production from the bench. PJ Tucker, big fat zero. I talked about that all season long. I didn't think that he was the piece that you guys needed. Just my opinion.
Well, I mean, you didn't bring him in for scoring. PJ Tucker's never been a guy that did a lot of scoring. He came in for one specific purpose, and that's defense. He's doing a good job of that. That's what he's there for. Chris Middleton with the dagger to win the game. So that was great because it took a lot of that. Oh, the Bucks did it again. They blew another game. They kind of just got rid of that. And you kind of got the same feeling again, like I was saying a few minutes ago, but you won the game. So
right.
Very important. Very important.
And so you said the game right now is like 50 to 30 something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's game 2. Game 3 will be Thursday at 6:30, and then game 4 will be Saturday at 12:30. These are all Central times.
Yep.
So a good series. I do see y'all. I just don't think Miami has enough. I think they've regressed some. So I do think y'all win the series, but I think Miami is going to probably tire you guys out.
Yeah, Miami's going to be a hard one for us, but I think a lot of people are overlooking the Nets and how difficult it's going to be for them because you have a lot of guys that haven't played a lot of minutes that are never going to have to play a lot of minutes in the playoffs. So they're going to be a little tuckered out as well. So I think it'll be a good, solid second-round matchup. That's what I anticipate. But at the same time, you also have to look at it and think about you can't take your foot off the gas. We've seen too many teams, and I'll talk about one later, that took their foot off the gas and things went bad. So game's not over yet. You're winning as of now, but you still have to complete it.
Absolutely. And well, you gave a good innuendo right there. Let's jump over to the Nuggets. And for me, this was the most disappointing game 1 out of the game 1s that happened. I just did not expect it to happen in this fashion. And the Nuggets ended up losing 123 to 109. It was Dame time.
Well, a couple of things really hurt the Nuggets. Aaron Gordon didn't really show up in this game. We have to get some production out of him. Michael Porter, even though he was 11 for 11 on 9 threes, I think like a 1 of 9 on threes, decided I'm just going to keep shooting what I'm not making. Young player. Yeah, the young player has got to understand this is the playoffs. Take a couple of threes. You're not making them. You're making everything inside the arc. Take it inside the arc more consistently. Defensively, there is not a reason that anyone can tell me that Michael Porter Jr. should not be able to block Damian Lillard's shot. So to see Damian Lillard hit threes over Michael Porter Jr., it's time to have a conversation with him. You've got to be better on the defensive end. If you're going to step up into that role and be the second guy that we're depending on, you have to do it on the defensive end as well. So we need more defensively. It's the biggest thing is defense. A lot of points were missed that we should have made, a lot of just little bunnies that everybody was missing. But at the end of the day, you have to stop the other team from scoring at some point. That game, we were up by 10 in the third quarter. And then to lose like that. Yeah,
absolutely agree. Portland had 6 players in double digits.
I bet they did.
Being the third highest scorer on that, he had 18 points. So looking like not vintage Melo, but great Melo still. McCollum had 21 points, Dame had 34, and Nurkic had 16, and he had 12 boards. So big game for Nurkic for sure. He probably could have done a little more point-wise, but he really didn't need to. What do you expect out of today's game? Because they also play today at 9 o'clock.
I expect the team that got embarrassed at home and let one get away come out and make it up. Okay. I expect them to I like Campazzo actually on Lillard when he's on the floor because he's like a little gnat and just, gets on his nerves and kind of irks him a little bit. But obviously you have to switch up the looks on Lillard. You're going to have to figure out how not to let Carmelo Anthony get 15 points in the third quarter. The second quarter. You're not going to be able to let that happen and, continue to win games. So better, you got to focus more on defense. You got to focus more on hustle. You got to have a better basketball IQ. Open shots you want to take, but you have to take what you can make and understand what's happening in that particular game. And this is where there's a little concern. And this is why I don't expect them to go deep, like to a Western Conference Finals or to the NBA Finals, because missing Jamal Murray, you can kind of see there will be games where guys can step up, but you won't have anyone that will be consistently that second guy right now. And that's going to be a little concerning. But I think we still have enough to beat Portland in the series. But then the concern is you got to play the winner of the Lakers Suns series. So that, yeah.
True. Murray really not only his experience in last year's playoffs, when he was on Kentucky, like he was on a really great Kentucky team. Like he was on,
Yep.
They played at a very high level. They went pretty far into the tournament. He's used to that level of competition. So that's a difference maker for the Denver. And while they did play well, even though he got injured, and they finished out the season and played well, maybe their schedule was a little light.
Oh, I mean, definitely. I'm sitting to tell you that we played, the top teams, every week. I mean, we had some games in there that was some bunnies, definitely.
Back to back.
I mean, we had some difficult games that we won.
Right.
We beat the Clippers a few times. We won some other games, but we definitely had some games in there that were easy ones. I think it's the playoff atmosphere. It's different, and you have a lot of young guys. Michael Porter Jr. wasn't asked to do a lot in the playoffs last year, so you're asking him to come in now and be a guy that everyone's focused on. So that's something he's going to have to adjust to. Like I said, you got to have more Aaron Gordon. You got to have more Monte Morris, JaMychal Green. You got to have all these guys do a little bit more. Whatever you did last night, you have to do a little bit more from Jokic on down. Everybody has to do a little bit more. And then we don't have, we're not allowing them to get those easy shots in the fourth quarter where they're just pulling up and banging threes from everywhere. And Nurkic is inside just throwing up little floaters. So you just have to, have to be better.
That third quarter roasted y'all. They had 38 points and y'all had 25. We can look forward to Game 3 on Thursday at 9:30, and then Game 4 at 3:00 on Saturday. Let's run through your regular season awards real quick.
All right, so MVP definitely going with Jokic.
Okay.
Defensive Player of the Year, kind of struggled with this a little bit, but I'm actually going to go with Rudy Gobert.
Okay.
For my sixth man, definitely got to go with Jordan Clarkson. I mean, I'm sorry there's other guys there, but Jordan Clarkson is the obvious winner. Rookie of the Year, LaMelo Ball. He cooled off a little bit at the end of the year, but let's be honest. If we're looking at the entire season, this kid made the Hornets relevant. And when he was not there, you could see the difference. And when he came back, you could see the difference, except for the last 6 games. So, I mean, he really made a difference.
Right. I agree.
Most improved player, I'm actually going with Michael Porter Jr. He did raise his average 10 points. He doubled his rebounds, doubled his assists from last year. And keep in mind, a lot of this happened while you still had Jamal Murray there. So the argument that some people will try to make that, he only got those numbers because of the Jamal Murray injury. No, he had those numbers before then.
Okay.
He kind of stepped into the role that Jeremy Grant, another finalist, actually would have had with us. And Coach of the Year, there's an argument for all 3 of the candidates, but the thing for me, I'm going to go with Quinn Snyder. And I'm going to say that because you took a team that most people expected to probably make the playoffs, but as a 5th, 6th seed, and you have them with the best record in the league and the number 1 overall team. So I think you have to reward a coach that can do that, especially for where they came from last year. And obviously, Tom Thibodeau was someone that had to decide between those 2 guys, but that was essentially the thing that made me go with Quinn Snyder.
Very cool. Well, I enjoy your list, and I agree with. Well, I took Coach Tibb. I think that's fair. That's the only difference. Yeah. Oh no, Defensive Player of the Year, I said Simmons. It's just, and it's not that Gobert is not a great defensive player. I just like Simmons' style better. I think he's more aggressive, and that's what I like.
Yeah, see, the reason I like Gobert is because he alters so much. When Gobert is zoned in, which is not all the time, but when he is zoned in, he allows everyone else to play the way they want to play because you've got him to come and clean it up. True. He moves well. He gets the ball. He gets rebounds. He's added the outlet pass. It's something he throws every once in a while. And he's just the perfect fit for what they want to do to allow other guys to be aggressive, to take chances because you have somebody that can clean it up. And that makes the defense a lot better. Very true.
Well, all right, cool. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
All right. You can find me on Play Callers every Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're live interactive sports talk. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Cool McCain, on Facebook as well, Cool McCain. and maybe I'll get an invite to the sip-off this week.
Definitely. All right, cool. We'll see you next week.
See you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and keep it in the East. We have Jay Nelson covering the Philadelphia Sixers. Hey, Jay.
What's going on? What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing good. I'm doing good over here.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll do the game first, and then we'll do the awards after that. Interesting game. The guys came out on top, but it was a pretty close game. And I know it was one, we were talking in the sip-off group, and I was congratulating some Wizard fans, and I was just like, oh, congratulations for getting there. And then somebody commented, and they were like, they're getting swept.
I know.
In the first round. The homie Cliff said they're getting swept.
Yeah.
But I really feel like that they might catch a game on you guys if they're playing like this. Now, Embiid did have a really great game, but he was in foul trouble for the majority of the first half. So can you imagine what his points would have been like if he had played the first half?
Yes, I feel like that I might upset some people whenever I say this, but the game was a little too close for comfort,
Absolutely, I agree.
Like you said, Embiid, him being in foul trouble and whatnot, that kind of enhanced the Washington comeback. Embiid had 30 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Embiid doing Embiid things, MVP things. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Tobias Harris was the one that really showed out. He had 37 too, but that's just a mark of a great team. Whenever Embiid is slipping, like he did put up 30. But like you said, he was in foul trouble. So Tobias Harris was kind of there to kind of pick up the slack and everything while he was going through his struggles. Ben Simmons only had 6 points, but he put up a double-double in rebounds and assists.
Right,
so
yes, he did.
You got that as well. And that's another dude that I got down here on the list coming up here in a minute. Steph Curry also brought you 15 points off the bench. 6 is a deep. Six is a mad deep, and they're going to be a very tough. I know that. Didn't you say you had them coming out of the East?
I do have them coming out of the East.
Yeah,
I do think the Nets are going to be tough, but I don't think the Nets have anything defensively for the Sixers.
No, and the way better team on defense is the 76ers.
Right.
And this is not just football, but basketball too. I would say it in any sport. Give me the stronger defensive team.
Right.
Offense, they sell tickets, but defense wins championships.
Most definitely.
Did you see that Ben Wallace got elected to the Hall of Fame?
I did. Yeah, I did.
You know what I mean? See, there you go. You look at the top defenders, and you know what? Ben Simmons keeps on the trail that he is. He may very well be a top defensive great. Guys, the Robins, Ben Wallace, Ron Harper, all those guys, Elijah Wan, and Simmons just has to be consistent. I'm happy that I told somebody else on the sip-off miles ago, I said, you know what? I just did not believe in Simmons. But for the last some odd years, he was so consistent. He didn't have a jumper, but now he's finally coming into his own. Mm-hmm. My only question is, what would the Sixers be right now if Simmons had come into his own years ago when he was supposed to?
I agree, but I think the problem was coaching. They have the coach that they need right now, and that's that difference maker. He knew to take the ball out of Simmons' hands as much as he needed to and either put it in Seth Curry's hands, who has an astronomical shooting percentage, or Danny Green, who gets hot and cold. But, one of them can do that, the jumper. And once you're able to take the ball out of Ben's hands as far as a jumper, and he can be there and he can be your rim protector, or he can be there and he can get the layup, he's able to do those things. And let him focus on what he does best. You got to know how to coach your players at their best abilities. Now, he may not be able to shoot great, but you're coaching him in a way that he's able to play better.
Yes. I mentioned Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace, he was only putting up there's a sole defensive role. Truth is, you got 4 other guys on the team that can shoot. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, you're absolutely correct. It could be like, well, they're forcing Ben to shoot the ball, and Ben's not a shooter at the end of the day. Right.
And he may not be. He just may not be. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think Donovan Mitchell should have got Rookie of the Year whenever Simmons won it. Just my preference as player. But I think Simmons looks great this season. And I think what makes him look great is Doc Rivers.
Yes. He definitely needed the better coach around him. Mm-hmm. If Doc Rivers had failed with him, then we could say, all right, it's the player.
Right, I agree.
But as far as Ben Simmons go, he literally is, like you said, utilizing him for his talents. At the end of the day, the team is not revolved around Simmons. It's revolved around Embiid.
Right, and that's what it needs to be. And I mean, Tobias is a great third option right there too.
Who? Oh, Tobias Harris. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, but now I will say that Washington keeping it close. Bill had 33 and 10, so he had a double. Westbrook had a double. He had 16 and 14, but he also had 6 turnovers. This is where Westbrook tends to show up.
Right. Yeah. True.
That's where he tends to show up. Those 6 turnovers, it's probably closer. It may even be a Washington stolen victory.
I agree.
So but you know what? I do like this matchup. I can see Washington maybe stealing a game or two, but ultimately Philly. I got Philly in the Eastern Finals.
I do have Philly in the Eastern Finals, and I think this might be I agree. It might be a 5-game series. I don't really see a 6-game series. Congratulations to the Wizards for making it there because nobody expected that.
No one expected.
The Sixers are a very solid team.
Yeah. And Bill's first season without John Wall, we was kind of wondering that. Now, granted, they went 34 and 38, but I mean, they made the playoffs. They won the play-in. They did what they were supposed to do.
Absolutely. And we can. Oh, sorry. The wind blew my trash can.
Oh.
Let me get them. So we can look forward to Game 2 on Wednesday at 6, Game 3 Saturday at 6, and then Game 4 Monday at 6. So it's going to be an exciting series. I only got it going about 5 games, though.
I got it going about 5. I think Washington will still win in Washington, albeit a close one. But I think they'll get 1 game, but that will be their 1 game.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's jump into your regular season awards.
All right. MVP, I got Embiid, the man we just talked about. My reason for that, the man missed 10 games and still averaging 28.5 points per game. You can't overlook that.
Right.
Right.
Very true.
Also, and see, even though it's an individual award, they look at your impact as far as season results. This is a man that led them to the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Right. So that absolutely will be a factor. Defensive Player of the Year is close. I got Ben or Draymond. Both of them are actually eerily close in steals because Ben is averaging 1.6 steals a game. Dre's averaging 1.7,
Okay.
But I got Ben or Draymond. I mean, it's real close. It's probably going to slide to Ben because Ben made the playoffs. And, I mean, again, that's what they're going to go by,
That impact, yeah.
That impact, yes. 6th man, because I hold on to him so much. Give me Derrick Rose, man. Give me D Rose.
Okay. I like that because there was a bid for Melo. He was looking really good over in Portland, but Derrick Rose looked so good yesterday.
He does, and we're all looking for him and waiting for him to turn back that clock to 2010. We know he will never be that guy again. But 14.7 off the bench, 4.2 assists. No, you can't overlook that. So give me most improved player. I'm gonna have to go with Julius Randle. He's averaging a very high 24.1 points per game, and he led the Knicks to their first playoff appearance in 8 seasons.
Right. No, I to me it was between him and I went with MPJ just because MPJ actually improved more to me, like just points wise. And even like Cool was saying, he doubled his assists, he doubled his rebounds this season. He did. So, even though Julius had an astronomical season and I love what he's doing over there in the Knicks, I think if we go to the base of the award, I think MPJ did more this season. MPJ, absolutely did. I mean, like, just looking on the names overall on the list for all categories, like, I really don't see any snubs. Like, I didn't see a name and be like, they shouldn't be there. Right. Oh, yeah.
Be there. Like, if they win, like, they should protest or whatever. Like, there really aren't any snubs on or anything. Rookie of the Year, I got LaMelo Ball. He missed some time with that wrist injury, but he did come back. Almost got the Hornets there, you know what I mean?
Right.
But this dude, the way he's playing, he might be an MVP in about 3-4 years.
I agree.
He might be MVP. Coach of the Year, and this is coming from to the core Rockets fan who hates the Jazz, but I got Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder, NBA best record despite losing D. Mitch for 16 games.
I completely agree. He's great. I just personally have a liking for Coach Tibb and Derrick Rose. So, and I felt like, Coach Tibb did more with less pieces than the other candidates, even though they're great and have done a really good job. Yeah. Maybe Coach Tibbs could be that Bruce Arians of the NBA. The guy that I like that. Just long enough to win a championship finally. Right. Yeah. Right. So I like it. Well, all right, Jay. Thank you so much. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back here next week.
All right. You can find me, of course, here on the NBA Carousel every Monday at 7, hosted by Megan Price. Also, you can catch me on the Sip Off. I had to take last week off because I had a live commentary to do. But I will be back. Is it Thursday or Saturday?
Thursdays.
Thursday? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So Thursday, I'll be back on. Also hosted by Megan Price. And also, I am a journalist and writer for Visual Dramatics. That's VIZ-D Productions. Download us on Roku. You can also follow us on Instagram at VIZD_network. I did my first live commentary on the life and career of the late great comedian Paul Mooney. Rest in peace. Shout out Craig Davis. Shout out Marshall Hill, my unconventional Kings fam. One love. I'll see y'all next week.
Bye, Jay.
Thanks for having me.
All right. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring it back to the West. We have Kevin covering the Memphis Grizzlies. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Megan. Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying the playoffs.
Absolutely. Hey, and you know what? You got a team that's really showing out right now. They showed out.
Oh, damn.
They showed out in game 1. Like, you guys are looking really good. So Memphis came out victorious yesterday, 112-109 against the number 1 seed.
Brooks.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Right. Yeah, he had an astronomical game. Not only this game, but in the game against in the play-in tournament as well. So definitely, they look really good. Who did they play? Golden State?
Yeah, they did play Golden State, and oh shit, you never expect Ja Morant like this. Like I have seen him in the regular season, but that night Ja Morant was possessed. He was literally possessed, and no one was stopping. No one was stopping. The small ball was like totally dead. Draymond Green was not able to answer him, and the way he was just going to the rims, it was like he wanted to take that rim at home. It was just like so bad. And then Delon Brooks, the way he defended Curry, I guess no one could have ever thought of defending Curry like him. Like, you are throwing 2 managers, 3 managers, you're throwing a whole squad. But the way Delon Brooks was on Curry and the way he stick him, it was like he was glued to him so much that you never left him. And he was like always changed behind in all the court wherever he's making cuts. And I love that thing. It was amazing.
And then, do you say his name? Valanciunas? I think that's
Valanciunas, Jonas Valanciunas.
Okay, and that's their center who had. He's just looking great. And I have to say that I think he's the reason that the Spurs lost on Wednesday against the Grizzlies. Not only did they look really great, you guys look really great against Utah. You guys looked really great against San Antonio. Now, you were up almost 30 points and allowed us to come back. But, let's see. In the first quarter, San Antonio had 19 points. The Grizzlies had 38 points. And then in the second quarter, we came back. We had 30 points, and you guys had 18 points. So, and then in the third quarter, we each had 16 points. So it was a really close game. We ended up losing 96-100. I was extremely disappointed in not you guys. I was disappointed in my squad. I felt like you guys were triple and double teaming DeMar, and where was the rest of our teammates? Like, where were the Spurs that were supposed to do in the pick and roll or do a screen and help get them off your best scorer? And you didn't see it a whole lot. I didn't see a whole lot of defense out of San Antonio whatsoever.
That is the reason, like, kudos to Jenkins. I guess the way he has taken this team to all these heights. He has always seen that he has always tried to lock up players like this, and Jared Jackson Jr. or Delon Brooks or Jonas Valanciunas, Kyle Anderson, these all types of guys, you see, they have that defensive impact, and that is what we have seen. Like, for San Antonio Spurs, honestly, apart from DeMar DeRozan, no one was a natural threat for us.
Right, and
apart
and
from
Kyle Anderson has had a couple of great games as well, former Spur, and I think he kind of gave it to us, like, maybe you guys shouldn't have traded me,
Yeah, actually, because Kyle Anderson is a slow-mo. He's really slow. He's like 0.5x on the court, but the way he uses his IQ. He is
Right.
a very, very smart player. Like you saw against him in Golden State, you saw against him in Utah Jazz.
Right.
The way he was making picks, the way he was taking shots, he's a really smart player. Don't go for his speed. He has
Agreed.
other tools with him.
So we can look forward to game 2 on Wednesday at 9, game 3 Saturday at 8:30, and then game 4 is going to be on Monday at 8:30. What are your thoughts on Mitchell? Do you think Mitchell's going to return?
If he does, we have Delon Brooks again.
Okay, I like that. I like that confidence very much. Very good. Now there was barely any bench points in this game against Utah. Like it was mainly your starters that just came in and handled. Like you said, Dylan Brooks had 31 points. John Morant had 26 points. You guys' center had 15 points, and then Kyle Anderson had 14 points. So just looks like y'all starters are just really playing at their top best right now. I would like to see some better bench production because whenever you get Mitchell back on the court, you guys are going to have more than just those your 5 regular players, scoring.
See, if we don't eliminate Utah, we are making it sure that we tire them out, because that is what we did with Golden State Warriors as well, and that is what we are going to do with Utah Jazz, because the longevity in this thing is how much fatigue you have when you're going to second round of those semifinals or the finals. And that is the reason, and that is where we come from. We have already exceeded expectations. We have already proved that we are going for the championships in the next 2 to 3 years, and this is a really young squad. So comparing them with this Utah Jazz, we are the second youngest team in the playoffs, and that energy which we have, that is the thing which we are going to carry all over to these playoff until the time we are here. So if you're not eliminating Utah Jazz, we are going to tire them out definitely. And Donovan Mitchell is going to have a tough time. How much hot he gets, we have players, we have bodies to throw on him, and I'm very, very, very sure that this is going to be a 7-game series.
Okay. Well, let's run through your regular season awards real quick.
Okay, for MVP, I would go for Chris Paul.
Okay.
A very unpopular opinion. For defensive player of the year, I would go with Bam Adebayo and Ben Simmons.
Okay.
Most improved player Zach Levine. You wouldn't have expected that guy. No one would have expected that guy, but Zach Levine.
Okay.
And sixth man of the year, I would go with Joe Ingles.
Okay.
And rookie of the year, we'll go with Tyrese Halliburton.
Very interesting. And your coach of the year?
Coach of the year is Monty Williams.
You had a very different list than mine, but I like it. Everybody on there was nominated, but very different than what I picked. I like it though, and I think though, on most improved, I gotta go MPJ.
I can't say, but yes, I can make case for mine, because Zach Levine, you in Chicago Bulls last year or a year before that, you did not have those kind of expectations.
Right.
But this guy has actually carried the whole team, and post the trade deadline, that duo has been really, really good. And Zach Levine has shown that he can carry that team. It was only the health and safety protocols which made him sit out, or else it could have been really different. We could actually have seen them possibly in planes, not within that.
All right, Kevin. Well, thank you very much. Let everybody know where they can find you and they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on the Kev Pod. You can find it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Anchor, Spotify. We have got the Kev blog as well, where I've started writing blogs. And other than that, you can find me on the NBA Carousel, formerly reporting for Cleveland Cavaliers, now reporting for Memphis Grizzlies. So I'm expecting more opportunities from Sideline Sports as well. And yes, with that, I say thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We'll see you next week.
Sure.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and go shoot back over to the East. We have Jelani covering the Atlanta Hawks. Hi, Jelani.
Hey, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Pretty good, especially after last night's incredible win.
Oh, man, what a close game. It was 107-105. You guys came out on top. It looked like, 15 seconds left on the clock. I was like, it's overtime. We're going to overtime. It's tied.
Yeah.
And then Trey came through and said, nope, game's over.
Yeah, it was an incredible play. I was just glad we got the last shot. Like I said, I've even been, I think, went to 1 or 2 games this year, and it came down to the last shot like that with Trey. And sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't. That's one of his go-to shots, though. It's either three or that floater. He always banking on. So I'm just glad this one fell in, especially with not much time for them to get off a shot as well.
Right, and also, Bogey had a really great shooting night as well. His moments that the shots that he made were extremely clutch, and changed the direction of the game at that moment. So not only Trey but Bogey, they got to be able to shut you guys down if they expect to win any games. How far do you see this series going?
I had this one, my Hawks in 6. Honestly, a lot of that came off of, or thought process came from one, the first 2 games we played them, LP was coaching. We haven't ever had a full roster against them. I know they probably can say the same as well. But the changes that Nate McMillan has made since taking over this team when we were 14-20, and even the changes he's made individually with certain players, such like a Bogey being able to handle the ball a little bit when Trey's on the bench, or having Bogey move off the ball as well. Certain little things like that, I don't think the Knicks squad has seen in the 3 matches that we played against them. Also, DeAndre Hunter, even though the stat line doesn't look like it, that's a key factor, I guess, to look for as well in this series. Like you said, I mean, the only person I think personally had a flawless game yesterday was Trey. Everybody else, they did enough to get us the win. Like I said, even with Bogey, like at a point, him and Gallo were like 0 for 9 from 3. Like I said, he did hit 2 clutch ones down the stretch, which in the corner and on the wing, that definitely helped prevail us. But I know the Knicks guys. I follow a few, and I've been reading their tweets all day. They feel like they're in a great position, and because they didn't play well, Randle and RJ. But I feel like I can say the same thing about our guys. Like there's a lot of guys that didn't play as well. The only one that, like I said, really felt like he played a flawless game was Trey. Everybody else, can and will step up, or they made contributions. Like John Collins probably the guy that I'd point to. He didn't have a great box score with 12 points and 7 rebounds, but his impact is on the floor. Like, he helped slow down Julius. Like that's a matchup that everybody was talking about. Randall's had his way with this all year. So being able to.
Julius only had 15 points. And, all year long, the storyline that we've heard with the Knicks has been their defense. And, you guys were able to, and Julius Randle is usually, his scoring has been really high all season. RJ Barrett as well. And RJ, you all held to 14 points. Now their rebounds were both really good. Julius had 12 and RJ had 11. But, those guys are normally your top shooters, and they were not. They were number 3 and number 4. Actually, their top shooters were Burks, who had 27, and then Derrick Rose had 17, who had a really great performance. Love seeing Derrick Rose have a great performance, but I think that Atlanta kind of came into the defense conversation.
Yeah, the main thing, like, we've all heard it throughout the entire year. Knicks is number 1 in defensive efficiency, number 1, guarding the 3-point line. But ever since Nate McMillan took us over, we haven't been no slouches either. I think we might have finished up the season maybe third, or we was like 3rd in defensive efficiency since he took over, something like that. All in all, I know, like, defensively, like I said, it picked up once Nate McMillan took ahead of this team. So it's not like we were slouches defensively either, and like they're just gonna run through us offensively.
Right.
But like I said, defensively, it was a grind out game. Like I said, at a point, but to end the third, it was 71-73. The highest scoring quarter was the fourth quarter for both squads, actually. So it will be a defensive battle throughout the entire series. I expect more physicality, especially on Trey. Game 2 on Wednesday, but I feel like they can hold their own, and we just we can match the physicality just as much as they can. It's just at that point, who's going to be able to put the ball in the bucket.
Agreed. You just alluded to Game 2 is going to be Wednesday at 6:30. Game 3 is going to be Friday at 6, and then Game 4 is going to be Sunday at noon. Let's go ahead and run through your regular season awards real quick.
Yeah. So for me, I guess we'll go MVP. I started out. I have Jokic. And even though they lost their first game against Portland, I feel like if you just watch that game, you can see why. He has his hands on literally every part of the game.
Right.
So Jokic for me was MVP. Coach of the year, I went with Quinn Snyder. Just for everything that he was able to, I guess, endure. Even going back to last season, the bubble, like, you know, there was great tension between Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and you heard about it a lot then, but you hadn't heard about it pretty much all this season. They went into this season kind of with the same squad. Honestly, you see the growth from Jordan. You've seen the growth from Jordan, Clarkson, and Joe Ingles, and even with so many injuries, you know, in and out of the lineup, they still were able to prevail and be first in the West. So I think, you know, you got to commend that. Most improved, I don't really agree with it, but I kind of had to go with it. Julius Randle. You know, like I said, we've seen him play to this caliber and put up these numbers before, but, you know, the storyline is, you know, he's brought the Knicks to somewhere they haven't been since 2012, 2013.
Right.
You know, he's pretty much been their leader. He's done what he need to do with a squad that isn't as talented as many people, you know, would look at on paper and see. So, but his game hasn't changed much, in my opinion. But like I said, just that storyline is why I put him there. I honestly, if Jeremy and Grant would have been able to play most of all the season, that would have honestly been my pick. But I'd take, you know, games played into consideration, which I'm sure a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson won Sixth Man of the Year, which I had as well. Rookie of the Year. I kind of have it as a split between Anthony Edwards and LaMelo. LaMelo, like I said, if he didn't miss as much time as he did, and possibly almost having his team in the playoffs, you know, just, you know, got knocked out for the play-in game, I probably would have had him, you know, solidified, but I think they can split that one.
Okay.
Is there anything that I'm missing?
Coach of the year?
Yeah, Quinn Snyder, Coach of the Year.
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that is, yeah.
Defensive player of the year?
Oh, that's what it is. That's what I'm missing. I wish I could say my Clint Capella. I feel like he should be in the conversation, probably third or fourth in voting, but I'm going Rudy Gobert again. I just for the same reason I would have voted Clinton. I value rim protection a lot more than like on-ball defense. I know Ben Simmons is been in the conversation, but I feel like with a screen or two, you can take him out of the play a lot of the time. So like I said, rim protection, I feel like is a little bit more value defensively than, and rebounding, of course, to limit second chance points, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, I like that list. Mine's a little bit different. I got Simmons on Defensive Player of the Year, but like I said, it's just a preference on play style. LaMelo on Rookie of the Year, but I mean, Edwards is so close. Like you said, I wish you could share it because I mean, they really could. They really could share it this year. And my most improved was MPJ. I feel like because I mean, you said it. We've seen this at Julius Randle before, and so if we're going on the technicality of who's actually improved, I feel like MPG has improved his numbers more than anybody else.
Yeah, how about to say he definitely stepped up in a time that they needed him to step up. Like I said, losing Jamal Murray, even Will Barton, another name too that I can't even remember. But yeah, they've had a lot of injury bug over there in Denver as well, so I can definitely see.
All right, Jelani. Well, thank you so much. Good luck on your games this week, and let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Of course. So thank you again for having me. I always enjoy doing these Sideline Sports NBA carousels. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at What the Game Means to Me. I do a podcast with my co-host Thaddeus Bell. You can also follow us on Twitter at WTGMTM Podcast as well. We just did a show yesterday. Unfortunately, I'm a Falcons fan as well. I know a lot of people's heard the news today about Julio. So y'all gonna have to skip that part of the show that we talked about. I said that he wasn't gonna get traded, but more than likely it's looking like that. So
well, I hate hearing that for you guys, but maybe it'll leave room for improvement. Sometimes you just gotta move on from that franchise player and find a new direction. Yeah.
Like I say, maybe the Kyle Pitts people in fantasy, they'll enjoy it, I guess. So
right. Well, all right, Jelani, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you next week.
See you. Thank you again.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and keep it in the East. We have Jen covering the Boston Celtics. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Megan. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Sorry, I've been kind of missing in action lately.
That's okay. Life happens. Okay, so let's talk about your team. You guys actually fell yesterday to the Brooklyn Nets, 104-93. And while I don't think it was your guys' best performance, I want to say that I don't think Brooklyn looked very good either.
No, I don't think it was. I was expecting a better game, and honestly, honestly, like I do have expectations for the Celtics to really step up against the Nets because, I mean, honestly, like you have so many star players and potentially, you know, Hall of Famers with the current Celtics team that I don't think they get intimidated easily. In fact, Tristan Thompson, I won't say exactly what he said, but he basically said the net swagger doesn't scare me. So
yeah, I know what quote you're talking about.
I figured I'd keep it PG.
Right, yeah. You know, even though Jason had a really good game, he had 22 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. I think that when you guys are missing your other pivotal shooter in Jaylen Brown, and so if you expect to beat Brooklyn, you got to step up on the shooting. So from Jason, I expect to see 30-point games, and then from Marcus Smart, you know, him and Kemba, even though they had good point games, like they had good games, but they got to step it up and make up for that difference because Jaylen Brown was putting up anywhere from 25 to 35 points a game, and so you're going to have to make a mix of that. Now, Tristan Thompson,
and Kemba knows how to do this.
Yeah, he does.
Sorry to cut you off. And the fact that he was just helping get other players possessions. Come on, Kemba, what's going on? Like, are you still injured? Are we still recovering from the stem cell? If that's true, if that's the case, fine. But we need to get somebody in there to shoot, at least until next year.
Right, definitely agree. And Evan Fournier, he had a decent game. I would have liked to have seen more point production out of him, but he had 2 assists, 6 rebounds, and 10 points. So, and those players that we just talked about, Jason Tatum, Evan Fournier, Marcus Smart, they all had almost 40 minutes. And so you don't have a whole lot of bench depth right now.
Right.
So I would want to see more out of your bench. And I definitely want to see more out of Tristan Thompson. Now, he had 10 rebounds. I give it to him. He had 10 rebounds, but he had almost no points. He had 4 points.
Yeah, he had, 4 points? Yeah. I mean, seriously, Tristan, come on, dude. Literally, I'm done with you. People talk about benching.
No, cut him.
Let's just get rid of Tristan. Seriously, go back to LA, go start a new reality show. We're good. Come on now.
Definitely agree. Okay, so you guys, we can look forward to the rest of the series. We have Game 2 on Tuesday at 6:30. We have Game 3 Friday at 7:30, and then we have Game 4 Sunday at 6 o'clock. What do you expect out of this series? How do you expect it?
I do expect to see Robert Williams continue to step it up because he had a double-triple, which is actually a franchise record for the Celtics. I also expect to see Kemba to start stepping it up one way or another, even if it is just still in his assists. And, I mean, even with Kemba, he didn't shoot. I mean, his numbers weren't bad. They just weren't Kemba numbers.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I was really impressed with Jabari Parker, and I think Jabari kind of impressed himself. So hopefully he doesn't get a big head, and he keeps doing it, what he's supposed to be doing. He's gotten high praise from both Coach Stevens, Kemba, Jaylen, everybody in the team is surrounding him. Then, and like I said before, Robert Williams, I really expect to see him really continue to step it up because people were kind of wondering, has he, was he not what was he not what was expected? I was trying to make it funny, but then I decided not to go there. It was too mean.
That's okay. You just made it funny right there.
Thanks.
All right. Well, let's run through your regular season awards real quick.
All right. So I actually said in the group chat that I agreed with Will earlier for Coach of the Year with the Charlotte Hornets coach, James Borrego. Okay. Because to take them from where they were to have such an injury-plagued team this whole season to even making it in the play-ins, that's awesome.
I agree.
I do pick, as the majority of everyone else, LaMelo, but, I am a Hornets fan, as you can see the skyline behind me with the pink and purple and teal behind me.
Yeah, I love it.
And then Defensive Player of the Year. I actually agree with you, Miss Megan. Okay. Ben Simmons.
Agreed.
Because I mean, I think he's finally really stepping into it. I really think you're right with the coaching staff. He's always had the allure around him, but now that he has the coaching, we're solid.
Mm-hmm.
For Offensive Player of the Year, I am going to pick Steph over James.
Okay.
Because James Harden. Because Steph was actually injured and sick. And that's why his numbers weren't as good. James Harden kind of had a meltdown before he got traded. So I got to go with Steph.
Right.
Plus,
yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, and then I'm going with majority rules on Porter Jr. being the most improved player of the year.
Same.
So, yeah.
And your sixth man.
My sixth man. I didn't think about the sixth man.
Okay, it's okay.
Can I get you back on Monday?
You definitely can. You definitely can. And on your MVP, who'd you take?
On MVP, I'm gonna go with again, Steph.
Okay.
Like
he was in the
I
conversation.
know. Yeah, but I like Hornets girl.
Right.
Hornets being number one. He grew up playing here. He went to learning how to play from the original Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Davidson. He went to high school with my best friend.
Right.
So I'm a Steph fan.
Awesome.
Unless they're playing the Hornets.
One of my co-hosts is from that area, and he's a huge Steph fan too. So completely understand.
Gotcha.
All right, Jim. Thank you so much for coming on this week. And if you're available next week, just let us know. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you.
Perfect. I'm on Reddit at Jenna Cheryl. I'm on Twitter at Jenna Cheryl as well. Facebook at Jennifer Matthews Lewis. And I am also going to be back on the NFL Carousel when we launch again. So yay.
Definitely. Look forward to seeing you whenever you're able to come on.
Perfect. Thanks, Megan. Have a great night.
You too. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. We'll see you back next week, and we will have our predictions for the next round. Some of them will already be finished up. Some of them will not. Can't wait to see you guys, and also catch the WNBA whenever you have a chance. Good night, y'all.